In today's Reddit story, my wife took my hard-earned money and secretly bought her male best friend a car. She thought I'd never find out. When I confronted her, she rolled her eyes and said, "You'll make it back. Stop being cheap." So I played along. This morning, she woke up to an empty garage, a frozen bank account, and a divorce notice. Now she's begging me to be reasonable. There's a difference between making a mistake and making a choice. A mistake is accidental, a choice that's deliberate. And what my wife Olivia did, that wasn't a mistake. It was a clear, intentional decision to betray me. And the moment I saw the bank statement, I knew she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. It started with something small, a random low-balance notification from my bank. That was weird. I kept meticulous track of my finances. So I pulled up my statements expecting to see maybe an unusual charge or a double withdrawal. Instead, I saw a $40,000 transaction flagged as vehicle purchase. My stomach dropped. I knew damn well I hadn't bought a car. And Olivia, she drove a brand new SUV that I had already paid for. So who the hell was this for? I clicked on the details. Then I saw the name on the invoice. Jake Reynolds, my wife's male best friend. I had been married to Olivia for 5 years. She was beautiful, outgoing, and charismatic. The kind of woman who could talk her way out of anything. And for the longest time, I had believed she was loyal. Sure, I never liked Jake. He was too comfortable around my wife, too familiar. But Olivia always brushed it off. "You're being paranoid. Jake's like a brother to me. He's been there for me since before we met Rob. And like an idiot, I had let it go because I trusted her because I didn't think she would ever cross that line. But now she had just emptied my bank account for another man without even telling me. Looking back, there had been signs, little comments Olivia made that didn't sit right. Jake's car is falling apart. Poor thing, I just wish I could help him out. You know, if I had my own money, I'd just buy him a car myself." At the time, I had shrugged them off. Now it was crystal clear. She had been testing the waters. She wanted to see how I'd react before she actually did it. And since I never reacted, she went ahead and stole from me to make it happen. My hands were shaking as I set my phone down, but I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was too focused, too clear-headed, because Olivia had just made a choice. And now I was about to make mine. I've always believed that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. But I didn't just want to believe Olivia was this selfish. I needed to see it with my own eyes. So I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just waited. And when she finally walked through the door that night, laughing at something on her phone, I asked the question as casually as I could. "Hey, Olivia, did you buy someone a car?" She barely looked up, just tossed her bag on the couch and shrugged. "Oh yeah, that was it," like she had just picked up milk from the store. I stared at her waiting for an explanation, an apology, a freaking shred of guilt. But instead, she sighed, walked over, and kissed me on the cheek. Then she said something that made my blood go cold. "Relax, babe. You'll make it back." She actually rolled her eyes at me like I was being ridiculous. Stop being cheap. That was the moment. Right then and there, when I stopped seeing Olivia as my wife and started seeing her as a problem to solve, I took a slow breath. So let me get this straight. I kept my voice calm, almost amused. "You took my money, bought Jake a car, and didn't think you should tell me." She tilted her head like she was genuinely confused. "Why would I? I mean, it's just money, Rob. It's not like you're struggling." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she had no idea what she had just done to herself. I could have ripped into her right then and there, told her exactly how much she had fought up. But instead, I just smiled. "You know what?" I said, shaking my head. "You're right, it's just money." Her shoulders relaxed. She thought I was letting it go. She had no idea I was already ending the marriage in my head, that I was already thinking about how to destroy her. And all she did? She grinned and said, "See, I knew you'd understand." "Oh, sweetheart, you have no idea. The first thing I did, I cut off her access to my money. She had no idea how much I had let her roam free financially. But now I removed her from all joint accounts. I canceled her credit cards. I transferred assets into protected accounts. She couldn't touch. And the best part, I made sure none of it triggered an alert because Olivia never checked balances. She just swiped and assumed it would go through. And when it didn't, that's when the fun would begin. The next step was even more satisfying. Olivia thought she had secured a win for Jake. But what she didn't realize, she had bought the car in my name, which meant I had every right to take it back. So I hired a repossession company, told them exactly where to find it, and within 24 hours, Jake's brand new ride, gone. I wasn't just planning to leave Olivia, I was planning to make sure she got nothing. So I spent the next few days documenting her spending habits, saving screenshots of her messages about the car, collecting every piece of proof I needed for a rock-solid divorce. Meanwhile, Olivia, she was still clueless, still laughing, smiling, and living it up as if her entire world wasn't about to collapse. And honestly, that made it even better. The day before everything collapsed, I watched Olivia post a selfie with Jake and some friends. She captioned it, "Nothing better than spoiling your bestie hashed, blessed loyalty matters." I just smiled because tomorrow she was going to find out exactly what loyalty really meant. Olivia had no idea she was living her last day of comfort while she was sipping expensive cocktails and taking selfies with Jake. I was systematically dismantling her entire life. She just didn't know it yet. But the moment she woke up, she would, and it would hit her like a freaking freight train. 6:45 a.m. It started with the garage. Olivia always went to morning yoga with her friends. Every day she strutted outside, gym bag in hand, sunglasses perched on her head, pretending she was some kind of high-class influencer. But today she walked into the garage and found nothing. Her car? Gone. Not stolen, not misplaced, just missing. I was upstairs sipping my coffee when I heard it. The frantic footsteps, the door swinging open, then Rob. I didn't move, didn't even look up. Just took another sip and waited. Seconds later, she came storming in face, pale phone in hand. "Where the hell is my car?" I finally looked at her as if just noticing she was there. Then I said, completely calm, "Repossessed." She blinked once, twice, then laughed. Genuinely laughed like I had just told her a joke. "What?" I set my coffee down. "It's gone, Olivia, just like my money." That wiped the smile right off her face. 6:50 a.m. Her face twisted in anger. "You're kidding, right? This is some dumb joke." I just shook my head. "Nope." She scoffed and whipped out her phone. I already knew what she was doing, checking her bank app, and right on cue I heard it. The sharp, gasping inhale. "What the?" she muttered. "Why isn't my card working?" She started tapping frantically, flipping through accounts. Then her eyes snapped to me. Pure, raw panic. "Rob, what did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, watching her like she was a bug under glass. Then I said, in the most casual tone possible, "I cut you off." She laughed again, except this time it wasn't amused. It was hysterical. You can't do this, Rob. We're married." I tilted my head. "Are we?" Then, as if just remembering, I reached into the drawer next to me, pulled out a manila envelope, and slid it across the counter. "Here, you might want to read that." Her hands shook as she grabbed it. The second she saw the title page, her mouth dropped open. Divorce petition. She stumbled back, clutching the papers like they had just burned her. "Number," she whispered. Number. "You're overreacting. We'll fix this." I took another slow sip of my coffee. "There's nothing to fix." She shook her head violently. Then she lunged for my arm, gripping it. "Rob, listen to me. It's just a freaking car." "It's not that serious." I yanked my arm away. "You're right. It's not that serious." Then I leaned in. "That's why you can go ask Jake to pay your bills now." And just like that, her face crumbled because she knew Jake wasn't going to do a damn thing for her. 7 a.m. She ran to grab her phone. I already knew who she was calling. Jake, the man she stole from me to help. The same guy she was posting selfies with just last night. She put the phone to her ear, pacing like a caged animal. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. Then the number you have dialed is no longer in service. I actually smirked. Jake had blocked her. She tried again, same result. Then she tried texting him, and when she saw the little not delivered error, she lost it. 7 to 5 a.m. Oh my God! She dropped her phone on the counter, both hands in her hair, breathing erratically. I just watched because I knew exactly what was happening in her head. Reality was crashing down. Her money gone. Her security gone. Her best friend gone. And for the first time ever, she was completely, utterly alone. 7:10 a.m. She turned back to me, tears in her eyes. She tried one last time. Rob, please, just let's talk, okay? I tilted my head. Talk about what? Her voice broke. Us fixing this. I swear I'll change. I didn't even hesitate. No, you won't. She let out a shaky breath. Rob, I love you. I smiled. Then I said the last words I'd ever say to her. No, you love my money. And with that, I grabbed my keys and I walked out. Leaving her to deal with the wreckage of her own making a normal person would have taken the loss and moved on. But Olivia, she wasn't just entitled. She was delusional, and nothing proved that more than what she did next. Because after everything, after stealing from me, lying to my face, and getting completely cut off, she actually thought she could win in court. I was at my lawyer's office finalizing the last details of the divorce when I got the text. Olivia, you think you've won, but you'll regret this. See you in court. I actually laughed because I had already prepared for this. She thought she was about to make a grand comeback, but in reality, she was about to get publicly, legally humiliated. The day of the court hearing, I walked in feeling calm and in control. Olivia, she looked furious, like she had spent the last week screaming into a pillow. Her lawyer stood up all confidence and started arguing that she had contributed to the marriage and deserved financial support. She had a right to some of my assets. I had sabotaged her financial security by cutting her off. I almost felt bad for the guy because when my lawyer stood up, she ripped their case apart like tissue paper. We had a prenup. Olivia had never worked or contributed financially. I had concrete evidence that she had spent my money recklessly. And the best part? I had proof that she had gifted another man with my money. The judge barely even looked at her before saying, Mrs. Carter, your claim is denied. Just like that. In under 10 minutes, she sat there completely frozen, like she just realized she was never winning this. Then she turned to her lawyer and whispered, That's it. He shrugged, already packing up his briefcase because there was nothing else to argue. And me, I just stood up, buttoned my suit, and walked right past her. Not saying a single word because she wasn't worth another second of my time. The next time I heard about Olivia, she was living in a tiny apartment, barely making ends meet. Her friends had abandoned her because she was no longer useful to them. And the cherry on top, she had to get a job for the first time in years. And what was it? A customer service representative. The same woman who once rolled her eyes at the idea of working was now stuck answering phone calls for a living. Karma doesn't miss. Months later, I got one last text. I miss you, Rob. Can we just talk? I stared at it for a second, then I deleted it because Olivia was just another bad investment, and I never waste time on sunk costs.